Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to talk about worms. Okay, they're hiding from me. Hello, little fellow. Oh, okay. Normally, what we do here is I start out by talking about the critters, and then I start the experiment. However, today we're gonna do our experiment first, or set it up. Okay, these are our wiggling worms. This is Squirmin' Herman, and let's see, are all his little friends awake? Okay, good. Now, what we are going to do here is we are going to figure out whether worms like it wet or dry. And this is real simple. All you need for this, paper towels and a little water, okay? And a little patience, because you need to give this about 10 minutes. Okay, so we're gonna get the paper towel, one of them, damp, you know, about like a wet sponge, okay? Not real soggy. And we're gonna set this down here, wet paper towel. And then we have a dry paper towel. And we're gonna set this one here. Okay, so I'm gonna take Squirmin' Herman, the worm man, and his friends, and I'm gonna put them where they're kind of partially on the wet paper towel and partially on the dry paper towel. Okay, and we're gonna set this aside and give it about 10 minutes and see what these guys do. Okay, and they're off. No, you're not supposed to go off the towels. Let's try that. Okay, let's start out by looking at an example of an earthworm. This is a giant worm. Okay, earthworms are a little bit different than a lot of other critters. Yeah, they're long and wiggly like snakes, but completely different. To start out with, they have segments, little sections, okay? And that's where their muscles are. And each segment has 8 little brushy parts on it to help them move along. And these are also the muscles. Okay, these are circular muscles to help the worm go forward. And he also has longitudinal muscles to help the back end catch up to where the front end is. Okay, starting at the front of this guy, we have something that's sort of like a mouth. It's actually more like an envelope. It doesn't really scoop things up, but it keeps stuff from falling out. Okay, and very importantly, worms don't have eyes, worms don't have teeth, worms don't have ears. Okay, so the worm will eat dirt. Actually, will scoop up dirt. What he eats is all the decaying little bugs and pieces of grass and stuff in there. And since he doesn't have teeth, he grinds everything up in a part of him called a gizzard. Chickens also have gizzards. And in the gizzard, he swallowed up some little grains of sand and itty-bitty rocks, and that's what grinds up the food. Okay. And then the food will go and it can be stored in the crop. Okay, again, like chickens or turkeys, but yeah, obviously this guy's no bird. Okay, now then, this may look like an eye on here, it's not. This is his brain. In a real earthworm, the brain is going to be about the size of a pin. Itty bitty teeny weeny. But that's enough to get him where he needs to go. Oh, and this is weird. These are his hearts, and they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 hearts. Okay, and after he's eaten the dirt, he digests it, and then it goes through his intestines. We have intestines too, and then he poops it out. Okay, and the worm poop is what is important. It's something called castings, and it has all sorts of bacteria in it, and this helps plants. This is why we're in the demonstration garden today, okay? Because after we are through with our experiment, we're going to let the worms go and help the plants. Also, worms don't just help plants by sending out their castings, because they dig in the soil that lets more air in and more water in, so they help the plants grow. Okay, one more interesting part of the worm is the clitellum. And this is kind of, it looks like a bigger segment. And this is the part where the eggs are in the worm. And this is also the part that makes kind of a slimy cocoon where the eggs will be laid. Something really strange about worms is they are both boys and girls, male and female. But to mate, they still need another worm. Okay, so we know what this guy looks like. And as I'm famous for doing, I'm going to repeat what I just told you with a book called Garden Wigglers, Earthworms in Your Backyard, by Nancy Lowen, illustrated by Rick Peterson. Okay. Eating dirt. Let's look closer at this earthworm. Its body is made up of many ringed parts or segments. Can you tell where the head is? It's hard to tell because the earthworm doesn't have eyes or ears. It does have a tiny mouth, though. If you watch the worm long enough, you'll be able to tell one end from the other. The end with the mouth goes first. Okay. So, what do earthworms eat? Dirt, actually. They eat the rotting bits of plants and bugs and animals that are found in the dirt. An earthworm's body takes food out of the dirt and eats it. It uses the food to grow and get rid of the dirt. When the dirt comes out, it's called a casting. In other words, worm poop castings. Okay, nature's gardeners. Worm castings might sound gross, but they're actually very important in making healthy soil. Castings provide nutrients that plants need to grow. And that's not all. The earthworm's burrows let more air and water into the soil. They keep the soil from getting hard. Earthworms aren't pests, they're nation's gardeners. He, she, it, or they. Earthworms have something that makes them very different from most animals. They have both male and female reproductive organs, but an earthworm can't mate by itself. It still must mate with another earthworm. Around the middle of the earthworm, there's a thick ring called the clitellum. After mating, each worm uses its clitellum to make a shell called a cocoon. The cocoon is made of thick slime and holds the worm's eggs. Within a few weeks, as many as 5 baby earthworms hatch from each cocoon. Besides keeping the soil healthy, earthworms have another important job. They are part of a food chain. Birds, moles, shrews, and other animals eat the worms. In many parts of the world, people eat the worms too. Okay, let's go back. Oh, I think our experiment is working. Remember, this was the dry side and this was the wet side. Let's see, the dry side. Nobody's on top. Everybody is hiding. And look at this. Some of our worms liked it wet, and some liked it dry, but guess what? They all like it dark. Okay, so let's look at these guys a little bit. Let's see, can we tell the front end from the back end? Let's put you down. You gonna move? Which way? Which way? Okay, these guys are being kind of lazy here. Okay, up, that's the head, obviously, because it's moving that way. And you see how it moves? It squeezes the muscles together and then drags the back behind it. And on this one, you can see the clitellum real well. So if this one was going to mate, that's where the eggs are, and that's where it would make its cocoon. Okay, so I'm going to let these guys go out here. Okay, run away, run away, run away, run away, run away, run away home. Okay, and this way they can help all these plants that are growing in the demonstration garden. Okay, so what they're going to do is they're probably going to go and burrow into the soil. Okay, so they're going to do that. Now, I want to talk to y'all a little bit, real fast, about worm bins. This is something you can do at home. This is kind of a mini one. Okay, and it's dark. And it has holes in the top because earthworms need to breathe. Though they breathe through their skin, they don't have a nose. Okay, and we have a layer of wet newspaper, again dark and wet. And here we have the compost bin. And this is dirt that the worms have made. They've been in here for a while. Earthworms eat things like fruit and coffee grinds and eggshells if they're crushed up real finely. Okay, and you can make one of these at home. Let's see if I can find any of the worms in here. Okay, up here we have one, and it's a squirmer. Okay, boy, is this one wiggly. Okay, so what you do with this, very simple. You put a layer of shredded paper, or several layers, or straw, something that, you know, is organic and dry. You add a little bit of soil. You put the worms in. You add a little water, and then you feed them fruit. Very importantly, don't feed them meat or dairy products. Okay, and then you can kind of stir the soil around in here periodically. And take this out at some point, and this makes good fertilizer. So, we've got a song about this. You put the worms in, you take some worm soil out, you put the worms in, and you compost all about. You do the worm bin boogie, and you save the environment. That's what it's all about. You put some water in, you keep the worms in the dark, you put some water in, and you give the worms some air. You do the worm bin boogie, and you save the environment. That's what it's all about. Okay, so Miss Catherine is going to be handing out grab bags with wormy stuff in them on, what's the date?
In March.
Huh?
In March.
In March. Okay. So, be prepared. This is something you can do in the park. All you'll need is your worm, paper towels, and some water, which you can get from, the restrooms here or where you fill up your dog's water bowls. Bye, guys.